Junk bucket.
Junk bucket.
Well, I've been calling it crotch bucket.
It's junk bucket.
It's junk
because
bucket.
we all got all kinds of junk.
Yeah, because it's not just for crotch. It's also for the booty and for the
That's just the back of your crotch, guys.
There's the tit meat.
You can throw it off the tits? I never read the rules that we came up with. I'm not that guy. I'm just the guy who brings the crew into the black hole and starts playing junk bucket.
So the story of junk bucket is actually at 100% one of my highlights this year. And Gate listeners and DPW listeners and probably greeters to box office. We know Lamplighters, departmental friends. Just know this. In 2023, it's fucking on. Junk bucket is coming to find you.
And we can only challenge you in this because every other game we've found of challenging any cross department means people get hurt, feelings get hurt, shit gets broken.
Flags get stolen.
But this...
Collarbones get split.
Oh, God. But this is just harmless. Pay attention to my gyrating junk.
This is the purest of athletic competition.
I never felt more confident this year than when I was in the black hole thrusting wildly at the tosser who was tossing ping pong balls at my thrusting junk, trying to get them into a bucket. And I didn't. But I don't think it was my fault. Yeah, I go back and forth in one plane.
Junk bucket, dear listeners, is the ancient tradition invented this year of pure form and dominance. A 2-on-2 competition wherein one partner tosses a ping pong ball towards or at or to their partner, who then deflects said ping pong ball into an array of buckets using crotch or ass or tit, their choice. No hands, no head, no feet, no knees.
Just junk bucket.
Just crotch to shoulders. 3 rounds, winner take all.
Winner take all of what?
There is a victory prize.
Yeah.
Yeah, the victory prize is getting to apply your commemorative sticker to the junk bucket.
Oh.
But the best part about this game is it evolved completely organically. It's a shitty party game set, dumb party store, like $2 birthday party game.
But apparently in Chicago, like, it's at every corner store. It's like their version of Red Cups.
Fucking Nick and Dale found several more of the same version of the game somewhere in Sparks or Reno.
That's why this is all going down next year, because every department gets their own set so they can practice. Like, not
Like we're
field a
practicing.
bunch of basic chumps when it's time to throw down with the junk bucket.
Yeah.
Welcome to Accuracy Third. I'm Rex.
I'm D-Day.
I'm Beth.
This is our 2022 Afterburn, baby!
This is practically the first episode of
It's
season
season
6.
6.
This is episode 0 of season 6.
Yeah.
We have never had a 6th season of this podcast before.
Holy
Beth, how
shit.
does it feel?
Oh my God. It's such a fucking relief.
Rex, how does it feel?
Wait, were we doing season 6? I thought we were jumping to something different.
I mean, this can be season 5.1.
We can do like Microsoft did, and this can be like season X.
Fuck you.
Yeah, fuck Microsoft. And no, that's what Apple did. Apple skipped 9 and went straight to X. They went from iPhone 8 to iPhone X, and then to iPhone 11.
Welcome to Accuracy Third, Series 6. This one's just going to be a year long at most.
Oh, we'll see. We've got a whole horizon on the
Knock some
horizon.
goddamn wood.
Yeah. But we did just go to Burning Man and get back from Burning Man. And the vast majority of that was great. I got to say, like, 80,000 people is enough people for that city. That city is fucking huge.
It's really...
You ever try to find, like, one of your friends out at, like, 8:15 an I? Because they're not there. You can just, like, go up and down 8:15 and go up and down I and go up and down J, and, like, you can't find anyone. It's a waste of time.
This is the earliest I've ever been out, and one of the things that I really felt this year on a level I just hadn't felt before, which is the detail of the city. It's so huge, and there's so many people putting so much effort into all of this detail the understanding that you're never going to see it all is something I am comfortable with now at this point in my going to Burning Man. But the depth of all of it, like we did a bar crawl and ended up at Golden Guy Alley, this really adorable like street of tiny bars and a little restaurant, and there's like second story bars, and there's like art galleries, and there's just all of these, and the bars were all very different looking, designed very differently. And we found out while we were there, all the bars, the whole structure was made by like two dudes, and all the bars are pop-ups from other bars around Playa. So any night you went, it would be a different set of people in bars that were serving different things in that whole setup.
I could have gone there every night.
That is very participatory. Good job.
It was super charming. I really liked it. Rex found the way in. There was a telephone where you could call to make reservations, which we were like, I waited in a short line because I'm like, well, this bar has a short line. I will get a drink here. And Rex, on the way out, found this telephone booth and was like insistent upon using it. And we were all sitting over here being like, what's Rex doing?
It's a telephone booth. I was trying to make a drug deal. What do you do at a telephone booth?
And then Rex comes back to us and is like, I have a reservation at this bar. And we're like, I guess we're going back in.
Go back in.
I'm glad we did, because the cocktails in that bar were outstanding.
Yeah, that was a good bar.
And the bouncer was adorable and from Seattle, and everyone in that bar. And
he did not trust me when I told him we had a reservation. Like, he had just finished telling the people who were in front of us in line that they couldn't get in without a reservation. And I was like, this isn't the greatest time to bring it up, but we do have a reservation. And he was like, yeah, how? I was like, I don't know. Like, someone called on a phone around back, and he was like, yeah, good. How many are you? And I looked behind me and I was like, fuck. Like
so
9 of
many,
us?
yeah.
Like maybe 12?
We were rolling deep on our bar crawl. We weren't even trying to roll deep on our bar crawl.
No, we ran into deep on our bar crawl.
We added 2, and then we ran into like 4 more later at our final destination, who came separately in like 2 different groups.
Yep.
It was just a night of absolute synchrony.
It was so great. We missed Megan's burlesque show, but we found Megan. And then we had told some friends we'd meet at Golden Guy Alley, and we're like, well, we'll see if that happens. And then we ran into 2 friends on the street in like walking distance from it. So we all went there together, where our other 2 friends were already waiting.
Yep.
And then much later that night, we weren't even at Skinny Kitty, where was our final destination.
No, we were a block away getting a drink, because Skinny Kitty is just a tea bar.
Yeah.
And at that bar, we ran into Skittles and crew, and we ran into Pickles
Lodo.
and crew.
Yeah. All of them right there. And it was just, it was so wonderful. The magic of just like, oh, hi, dear friends. Isn't it good to see you out here in the midst of all of this?
That wasn't the most magical bit of synchronicity, though.
What was?
When you and I were out and we went into the tarot doors.
Oh.
And and I made my exit door choice, and I went out, and I was watching the...
Wait 1 second. D-Day, did you do the tarot doors?
No, I found a different room with doors around the outside of it.
That was all mirrored on the inside?
Yeah, and on the outside, people had written like different things they had felt or experienced or something like that. But like earlier in the week, Douche Dude had told me about this structure where you would have to go into and out of doors and to make your choice very carefully.
Yes.
So I read all of this nonsense that fucking participants had written on the outside of this structure next to these doors before I walked in. It was just like, oh, haha, it's me. That's fucking great. Very good, Andy. What a waste of time.
So we went to the place that I think Andy was actually directing you to, which was a set of doors that had images on the outside. And outflanking it on 4 sides, there were tarot decks that sort of explained some of the intentions and stuff behind these images.
Yeah, some reworked tarot decks.
Yeah, it was really interesting. And then
you go inside, and then on the inside of the door are the major arcana of the tarot, also kind of reworked.
yeah, and this adorable little hangout structure music place. So we hung out there in a bit, and both of us got disoriented. We didn't know which side the bikes were anymore. And Rex was like, maybe we should really pick which doors we exit through. So I was walking around looking at all the doors, being like, which door? Which one actually like means something to me?
And my choice was easy. Like the door next to the door that I walked in was the perfect follow-up. So I walked out that door and walked around to our bikes and turned around and looked at the structure. And here rides up guest of this show, Carolina Sunshine, with her handsome German date, and gets off her bike and walks over to the door. And just for funsies to harass her, I shout out, "No, Carolina, don't open that door." And as she does, the door pops open and Beth pops right out into her face.
My hand was on the door when it started to move out in the other direction, and it was in the midst of all of Burning Man in this random spot. It was Carolina Sunshine, and it was just, it made me laugh so hard. And it was the perfect door between her and I. That it was wonderful. It was super charming. You're right. That was the best moment of synchronicity. That made me laugh for quite a while.
Do you two remember what the theme was this year?
It was Waking Dream. All about It's about surrealism.
Was there anything you consider waking dreamsy about the art or anything thematic?
I mean, there were big old Dali elephants. I really liked those.
Oh yeah, the elephants were beautiful. I mean, so there was a dash of surrealism that some artists went with, which was pretty neat. But no, I would say there was nothing on theme in the art that I saw this year. I mean, there was that giant moon car that most people couldn't tell if it was a moon or a banana.
Some things are a moonana.
Yeah, moon banana.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say there's anything particularly on theme about the art I personally encountered this year.
I'd say that surrealism is sort of one of the predominant themes in Burning Man art in general.
Sure.
Yeah, you put a big fork in the desert. That's surreal.
The fork in the road was at least funny.
There was that train station was.
Well, so the art, I had a lot of good experiences with art out there this year. I feel like the theme is garbage and has been garbage for years. And the theme is just Burning Man. And why do something like Waking Dreams instead of just saying, guys, it's Burning Man.
Literally purple would have been a better theme.
Purple was part of the theme. Tell me purple isn't the dreamiest color.
Fine.
I honestly think Nonsense Man's song about Remember That You're Dreaming is probably the best moment that I had with the theme. And even then, I'm like, this is very good. And it's just happenstance that it aligns with this theme.
Listeners, you've heard his music on here before. If you're a completionist, go on YouTube and find the Nonsense Man. Do yourself a favor. We'll get him on this show this year. We talked about it out there. But,
we should see if we can get
hard to record things at Burning Man.
Oh, we totally
especially
failed with
this
that.
year.
Yeah, completely failed. No recordings at Burning Man.
We planned on doing it a bunch, but we never did it. Which is why we're sitting here now 2 weeks out from getting back, because it took that long to test negative for COVID.
Yeah, Beth and I got COVID.
Yeah, speaking of, how's y'all's COVID's been?
It was fine. A very odd little cold. Doesn't feel like any other cold, but it also is, for me, was no more severe than an extremely minor cold.
It's so hard to separate it because, just in general, I spent 3 weeks out at Burning Man and it was incredible. It was very good. It was wonderful. And then I got sick for a day and a half and had one of the worst experiences nonstop for what is a day and a half? That's like 36 hours. For like 36 hours straight, I had the worst experience ever. And it was a really, really hard way to come out of Burning Man. And it was a really tough landing. And then I like really struggled because I was sick and exhausted and felt like a failure because I hadn't done strike.
Same. Having to leave right as strike was getting started was pretty torturous, though. Like, my choice was leave or isolate in my living box while everyone else does strike. And I probably should have waited like 12 more hours so I didn't do that horrendous Monday Exodus.
Yeah. I don't know how bad the COVID was or just how bad the experience was. I still feel heartbroken over it. And like, it's hard to disentangle that from just the hurt of leaving Burning Man. Like, I didn't get to say goodbye to my family. Like, I had enough bandwidth to like fucking tunnel vision my way through packing the car and knowing I was leaving messes for people and knowing I couldn't even communicate the things that I knew that we needed to do because it was just going to put more onto people that I was leaving without enough support. It was so rough. It was such a shitty way to leave.
Having to sit there in the Exodus line and like every time we were stopped, I had to roll down the windows and put on a mask and like give people the evil eye so they wouldn't walk up to the window and just fail to go out and join my fellow Exodusers.
Okay, so that really sucked, and I'm still like honest to God recovering from that suck. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about why it was so good, why it hurt so much to leave.
Beth, can you tell me why it was so good?
Oh my God, it was so good. It was. Listeners, you don't understand. Our camp had no assholes in it. Like, we had barely any. I stepped into a new role and I did it like I worked at it hard and I felt like the actual impact of it on the community of people that I loved. I got to connect really deeply with a bunch of people. I made new friends.
Oh, yeah.
And I got to see what it's like to be in community and give a shit about each other and make things together and like bring people together. It's so fucking corny, but like it was so good. I forgot what it was like to do group dynamics. I forgot what it was like. Our camp has always been quite good. But we went through like a management shift up over these 3 years and a bunch of things changing. And suddenly everyone who is in a management position is doing a lovely thing of keeping our community kind and caring and giving. And it was always there, but this was just like another step up for us.
Well, when you have managers who are comfortable being mean or cruel, it's difficult to hold the line with the entire community.
Right.
Because there are some people who have perceived or real authority who use it to the detriment of the community. But not having that.
Subtweet in the podcast.
No,
hey, I'm not just subtweeting about that one person, but about several people, most of whom worked for the village.
That's what I mean is like, it's really hard to step up and ask everyone who's showing up and living with you to like be deeply kind to everyone when there are people in positions of power that are just dismissive or unpleasant or just don't give a shit about you, right? It's not even like, oh, you're some evil monster. It's just like, hey, we all need to give a shit about each other. And the best way for us to take care of each other is to give a shit about each other. And now our department and the place that we work has always been so full of this kind of kindness. We've always just also had some people that were really less than kind in certain ways. But the absolute fucking magic of getting to know people and every like layer of understanding of them is something more interesting and more engaging. And the reality of feeling safe around everyone, of feeling like I can trust everyone around me. I had to leave Playa to go teach my first class, and it sucked, not teaching it, but just my job sucked. And I had a really rough day and a half outside of Playa, just like it hurt emotionally. And I was dying to get back inside. Like, I joked that I cried while I was leaving, but I also cried when I hit Playa again. And I got out of my car at my camp and was bum rushed by my campmates and immediately started to cry and needed to run away from everyone. But then I got to sit down with my best friend and with D-Day and like decompress for a minute. And then for the rest of the night, all of these people in my camp kept coming up to me and saying like, I missed you. And it's like a day and a half, but it felt really long to me, and I really missed them. And to have these really wonderful, lovely people acknowledge my absence, say, hey, I noticed you were gone, and I missed you.
The community is a little bit more empty with one less zaddy. I mean, sure, it's great to still have one zaddy, but like, what if that zaddy is indisposed? Where is Zaddy Beth?
I got to say, it was a really hard year in a bunch of ways for a lot of the people I encountered. A little bit for me, not really. There was a lot of frustration. Burning Man is always a lot of hurry up and wait, but there was a lot of hurry up and wait this year to the point where I was getting antsy about being able to accomplish things. But everything got done in the end. Everybody on our team pulled together so beautifully and just showed up 100% and accomplished kind of minor miracles.
And not just on our team. That's the thing that kills me. So I got to go out 2 weeks before the event this year and got to do the week before Build Week. And in that week, we got to witness how kind DPW and its crews were being towards each other. Like everyone was days and days behind. And all of these crews were still working with such kindness and patience. This year, so our DPW crew that builds the work site that we're on was the best. They're so kind and giving and understanding and supportive of what we do. And they were days and days behind, like we all were. And it was I don't know. It felt like such a year of like no one was on their game. Everything was tough, but there was so much love and support. Like
it was hard in a whole bunch of different ways, but also everything hit real hard.
Yeah.
It was good, pure stuff.
So Beth, so Rex, what did you spend this beautiful shit show of a Burning Man year doing at Burning Man? What you expected? Not what you expected?
Yeah, I mean, I worked a lot. I was running around doing a lot of different things. You know, nothing that anybody would find the least bit exciting. There's nothing juicy to share about my job. I was completing tasks.
Cool. Rex had a lame-ass year. Beth?
I wouldn't say that.
I didn't know what I was expecting out of this year. I knew it was going to be longer, and I knew it was going to be harder, and I knew I was going to have some more responsibility. And it felt like all those things. Like, it had been so long since we had been out, and I was reminding myself of all of the hard shit going in a bunch, and then it ended up being pretty easy. Like, I was so worried, and I know I'm going to have to, in my role, eventually deal with some much larger conflict than we dealt with this year, which was none, basically. But I feel like I spent all of this time and energy trying to prepare myself to be the person that has to handle it when people are freaking out. Like, to be the person who can help ground and help figure out the correct thing while people are freaking out. And then no one freaked out anywhere near me.
No one
the entire Burning Man. So yeah, honestly, I thought it was going to be harder emotionally, and then it really wasn't until the very end, and then it was very hard.
And you know, the listener appreciation party.
It is a glorious strain every year to be that emotionally open and available for all our fans.
I'm honestly sort of floored by the difference in our response to it, because for me, it's mostly fine. I mean, it's intense when it's happening. There's a lot of you, and y'all are all great, but there's a lot of you, and there's only 3 of us, so that it's can't not feel lopsided. But like at the end of it, I'm stoked. I just met a bunch of really cool people who are interested in the thing we do. And you two are spent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
It's the equivalent of doing, say, 2.5, 3 years of stage plays over and over and over again, and like never doing your curtain call and never going out into the lobby to say hello to the audience as they leave. And then all at once for 3 hours, it's nothing but like saying hello to people who have just seen you perform on stage in the lobby.
That's a great way of putting it.
You know what I think it is? The reason this hits me so weird is I think of the three of us, I'm probably the most introverted. But I'm also the one who's spent the better part of my working life in
situations where you have to be poised in public.
In customer service situations, and customer service situations where what's expected of me is quite a bit more than would be expected at McDonald's or what have you. I guess I've just built up that reflex where I can...
Yeah, at McDonald's, you don't have to teach anybody about dildos. You can, but like, it's not a part of your counter job.
Ooh. No, you never have to...
Would you like that large fries and a fleshlight?
You never have to convince somebody that the price of their McFlurry is justified by the value that you're adding to the lives of the farmers.
Well, look, the McFlurry machine isn't working right now because of the way that somebody used it yesterday, but hopefully we can get that fixed up and get you a nice icy treat tomorrow, maybe the day after.
I had a great time. I have an individually great time with every person I'm talking to, except for a few. And it's just, I don't know what to do with that much affection and genuine like outpouring of appreciation, and a bunch of people who like know me, like not in the way that you know me if you're like live with me or on my team or like know me in person, but I had people at the listener appreciation party saying how glad they were to hear me sounding so much happier. And I was like, oh, fuck, you know too much about my depressive cycles.
You know what? That's one of the benefits of being everyone's second favorite. Like people
No one's
come over
paying
to me and they're
attention.
like, oh, you're also here.
I'm a big fan of which one are you? You the one with the kid? I am.
So I feel like I get I unfortunately default to anyone who might be attracted to women, and our listenership is diverse in a lot of ways, but there are a lot of attracted to women. And that part is not even, I'm just not used to it because I'm a very normal looking person and I've been middle-aged for a while now. So to have like people like flirting with me is a little off-putting.
I don't know. Everyone flirts with me so often or doesn't.
There
Who's
was
to
that
say?
person who was trying to flirt with you through me, and I'm like, he is over there. He's got a very visible haircut. Please stop telling me how you would like to flirt with D-Day. Just go do it.
Hello, that person. I still have pretty red hair.
It's yellow now, though.
Yeah, it's yellow now. It'll be bleached and redyed by the end of the week.
And if you email us or stalk us at the house, he still won't know that you're flirting with him.
That's true. Just be forward. Email us. Be forward. We'll see where that takes us.
If you would like to know the most effective route to getting clear communication from
Use
D-Day,
your words. Please. Thank you.
Some of us don't read social signals so well.
Like the two of you not asking me what I did.
I was
at
about
Burning Man
to.
this
I was
year.
trying to
I
remember.
cut you off.
You did.
Thank you.
I was looking at you waiting for the pause to be so D-Day. What did you do at Burning Man this year?
Well, what I did do was I was also more relaxed and happier than practically any of my friends at Burning Man have ever seen me, with the exception of two people that I bumped into who are longstanding friends of mine since before I worked for Burning Man.
So they knew you back in your Quaaludes period. You were very relaxed back then, I hear.
I'd never seen you giggle during Build Week. And like listeners, for the first few days that D-Day was there, he was doing an absolutely nightmare, disgusting job. Absolutely nightmare, disgusting job. And he was doing it in like, mask, goggles, all the shit because of the mouse shit.
Which we'll get into later.
And he would be in there like doing the hardest, grossest work. And he'd come out and he'd take off all of his shit and he'd sit there and like we'd have a beer and chat for a little bit and they'd be like, it's so gross in there.
That's fucking
like,
disgusting.
it's so gross. I hate it.
Oh, what an insane idea it is to run a non-cross-contaminated kitchen on Playa. God, we didn't even have fucking refrigeration in there. But yeah, a couple weeks before we went to Burning Man, I took on the big-ass job of figuring out how to suddenly run a kitchen without knowing any of the supplies in the kitchen.
I thought you
really
were
having a
fucking
plan.
nuts when you stepped up into that role. I was like, are you sure? Like, are you sure you want to do this?
Well, this is actually the third time I've been flung into a very similar situation.
Oh, yeah?
And like 2.5 weeks is 2.25 weeks more lead time than I had for either of the other two instances where, like, one, I was working at a lock treatment facility for teenagers, and the director of that facility pissed off the caterers, and the caterers quit. And, like, from 4:30 in the afternoon until, like, 9 the next morning was the amount of time I had to figure out a week's worth of menus because it has to be like submitted to the state because you're like a licensed treatment facility, and do all of the purchasing and like get a breakfast prepped for the kids to eat. And like my first real cooking job was in New Orleans, and like our head chef threw a tantrum and walked out like 4 days into me working in the kitchen, and the kitchen just stopped. I was just like, okay, like what were you doing before Henry left? And they're like, yeah, I'm chopping onions and doing this prep work. It's like, great, keep doing that. And I just did the thing where it's like check in with everybody, find out what's going on, what's happening next, how does this thing usually work? And I helped run that kitchen for like the next several weeks until they got someone in there to do a legitimate job.
You did the fuck out of running that kitchen. It was such a success. Everyone really enjoyed the food. It really brought the camp together. And one of my favorite moments was the night that we went out to do Deep Art Walk. And we ended up back at camp at the end of this Deep Art Walk, very tired, sitting around. And we ran into Eyesore and Sergio.
Surge. We're calling him Surge now.
Surge.
And
Surge.
Like the terrible green soda?
Yeah, really put the U into it.
Yeah.
there was just this moment, and I'm sure it has something to do with inebriants, but there's just this moment when Serge, dressed in a chameleon onesie, kicked open the door to the kitchen, came down the stairs, lit by that one light, then went over to the pellet smoker, opened it up, and just went, ah, and I saw like the smoke all billow up, and I was like, this is the most at-home feeling I've had in such a strange, nothing about this is anything shaped like a home to me, but every second of this moment of sitting in this situation with these people, watching this strange man dressed as a chameleon smell a cloud of meat in the middle of the night is the nicest at-home feeling I've had in a while.
So the thing that gave me the most trepidation about taking on this project is this is my 14th year of Burning Man. This is the only year I have ever agreed to work during the event because what I don't want to do is work during the event. I am at Burning Man to play and be like some sort of flitting fairy in the world of Burning Man, going from one exciting thing to a pile of trash to another exciting thing to something
a flitting raccoon fairy
Thank you.
scuffling through the dust.
That's a tanuki, but you're close. But what I discovered is working in the kitchen of our camp isn't working. It is me hanging out in the room of our camp, which is our kitchen. It's the same thing that I would do for a couple hours, like if we went to a cabin someplace and got a bunch of food.
The kitchen is your happy place.
Yeah. It's a place where people come in to see me. It's where I listen to my music and my friends' music, and we hang out. And in drips and drabs, like all of the people who I love and who love me come in and say hi and see if I need anything. And they take care of me during the day while I'm in an insanely hot metal box with no real ventilation. And I take care of them by like prepping different dishes and then fucking off and going for a bike ride and then coming back, cutting up some tomatoes and cucumbers and letting them marinate. And then finally, like an hour and 15 minutes before service, like really cooking the shit out of that food for that amount of time. But it wasn't like a persistent drag.
Yeah, and it's not like you get out of camp during the day a bunch in most years.
Well, and this is a very hot day year.
Yeah, it kept me from just sitting around camp idly drinking, not to get drunk, just imbibing calories for no reason and not really getting that hydrated.
You know what I did this year? What we all did was we made some new friends.
We made a bunch of new friends. Hi, new friends.
And that's really nice. I'm extremely pleased with all our new friends.
After the fugue state of the last 3 years wherein we made very few new friends. We made more friends than most. We got to make podcast friends.
We even dragged new friends to our favorite thing.
Following me around in Deep Playa.
I was thinking steam bath.
Yeah, that's the one thing I didn't get to do. There's no doing the steam bath when you've only got 2 cooks leading the kitchen. We're going to have 4 cooks next year.
Yeah, new friends is definitely the biggest. But I haven't seen any of them since we've come back. And there's like this bit of me that is like, God damn it, I really want these to be new friends.
Oh, we're going to see them in a couple of weeks.
I know.
And they're real excited.
Mm-hmm. We're all real excited.
Everybody's real excited.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to talk about whether you two went to the man.
Nope.
I sat outside the perimeter before it came down with Andy one day and drank a beer in the shade of the truck. That's as close as I ever got to the man. I heard the man was like the temple this year.
We got
that's my take.
Very close to the man.
When
at the waxing party.
Oh, the actual man. I mean, like the man on the man
the
page.
performative man.
Yeah.
I went to the man, and I went to the man on a night where I just kind of walked into it. I hadn't been intending on going to visit the man, but it was there. And it was just like, well, as long as I'm here, we'll go in. But I had already decided that I wasn't at like an emotional place to go to the temple that evening. And what I found when I entered the top of the man base, I don't know, 15, 20 feet below the feet of the man, there was a plaque commemorating our lost siblings who work for Burning Man. And that was an emotional blast that I was not prepared for. So this is the first time in, God, like maybe 6 or more burns that I have not been to the temple, because I had my temple moment at the man this year.
It was a good temple this year.
It was beautiful from afar. I couldn't go in. Also, the man was wheelchair accessible.
Yes.
For the first time in the history of the event.
And powered entirely by solar.
Oh, did not know that.
Yeah.
Good job, the org.
We got an email sometime before the burn from a listener who has not actually been to Burning Man, but was able to plug into the Burning Man experience in such a way that she was able to use the burning of the temple and the live stream thereof to say goodbye to her son who had passed at a young age.
Oof.
And this email, which I'm tempted to read, but it's a lot, and so I don't want to lay that on the listeners. Suffice it to say, it got me in the guts. It was very sad and very beautiful, and just really spoke to what a piece of magic the temple really is, and what it says about our culture. And Beth and I and cherub from the Temple Guardians brought some photos of the sun out to the temple this year and gave him a nice placement.
Wonderful.
So, you get to cry at Burning Man, too. You get to cry on people's behalf.
Oh, this was definitely sobbing, man. The way there, once we're there, all of the times that everybody is talking about the people who can't be there or aren't anywhere ever again. Real emotional year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they read a list of the Rangers who had passed in the years since the last burn at one of the morning meetings. And I have definitely walked the playa with at least a couple of the names on that list, and that kind of hit.
Yeah.
When that ranger, who I don't remember their name, but that ranger...
I believe that was Tool,
like, read them out, and they were so sweet. They were like, I'm sorry if I lose this during this. I haven't actually said these out loud before. And then everyone there just sat in quiet contemplation, and they were like, thank you, like, for that moment. It made me absolutely weep, and I didn't know any of them, but it felt so good to be in a community of people who, like, could share loss together.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm sure we've mentioned before, we do a talent show on the performance stage in Center Camp before the gates open. That is mostly for the volunteers in Center Camp, but it's kind of open to everybody. But it's mostly...
It's a line check.
Yes, it is.
It's a line test, and it's mostly so the musicians on the performance team can show off what great musicians they are.
That's very
for fully
true.
the first 35 or 45 minutes of the line test, while everyone there's just like, we're here to see our friends perform, though.
There are friends, too.
Yeah.
Just because
they work a different shift means we don't know who half of them are.
Just because one of the guys on sound team is a legit guitar god does not mean that
G-string.
not also, G-string does not mean they're not also our friends. Shout out to production.
Yes.
But the talent show this year was maybe my weepiest night on Playa. Like,
one of them.
From the moment the lights went on, I was just pouring tears. And a lot of it was because the performances were just shockingly good.
Yeah, what a talented bunch of folks. How am I going to upstage them next year? I don't know.
Randomly, a person who got just like roped into helping pound in bike racks got up in the talent show and proved to be a
legitimate hip hopster.
Yeah, like a musician with music videos out and like wild talent out of nowhere. Surprise.
And like one of the most affecting works of marionetting I have ever seen in my entire life.
Oh my God. Shout out to Kitten.
Yeah. Not Kitchen.
Not Kitchen.
But enough about our friends.
Our friends are talented.
Mm-hmm.
Serving the last drinks out of Center Camp Coffee Shop was pretty beautiful.
Oh my God. So, all right. So I'll just say all the things instead of being coy. The DPW team that builds Oculus.
That builds Center Camp.
That builds Center Camp, the Oculus.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Angie. Hi, fan Angie.
They are super badass and really, really goddamn neat. And the three of us have been working on the team that decorates the thing they put up for quite a while. And we've had really different relationships with our DPW crew. Sometimes individuals are really excited about us. Sometimes we're seen as the stupid volunteers that aren't DPW.
And sometimes we were.
And
we have been underfoot.
Yeah, we have been like 60 people, 35 of which cannot like stay away from a scissor lift to save their goddamn lives. And it would literally save their goddamn lives. And like they hear that beeping and they don't fucking look up. They don't sniff the air like a rabbit. Like a rabbit.
So that's fair. And the Oculus team is so fucking cool this year. Just kind, just incredible. I learned new things about this structure I've been working under for 6 years. I've always loved it, but I didn't know anything about it.
Tell them about what tightening the cables is called, Beth.
It's called tuning. You tune the structure, and it's constructed in such a way that the wind actually pull the structure down into the earth. So it gets deeper over the period of Burning Man if there's hard winds.
And this year, the Oculus team took some of the old components of the coffee shop counter and built a little coffee shop effigy for Early Man, which was incredibly sweet. We got to say goodbye to the coffee shop in flames and serve cocktails out of the little effigy.
Oh, it burned so well.
And
it
by
burned
cocktails,
so well.
we mean shots poured right into your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and 3-year-old champagne that was 98% rat shit.
People
free.
were real excited about the potentially rat shit-free champagne.
I was so delighted by that. And there were no other bars at Early Burning Man, so everyone was lining up for our garbage, which was super nice.
There's usually like a trailer with PBRs or something like that on it somewhere out in the crowd. But who knows if it wasn't there this year or we just didn't see it.
That was lovely. And that was a gift the Oculus team gave us, the people who used to do coffee shop and who decorate the inside of their miraculous tent.
It was also the last of the Early Man effigies to catch fire. And boy, did it burn beautifully.
When it burned, it had everyone's attention because most things were done burning at that.
Mm-hmm.
There was this huge rolling flame across the ceiling piece of it. It was, it was really lovely.
It took a long time to catch fire considering how strongly it reeked of diesel fuel.
And the first thing that caught fire was the cash register.
Yeah, it's a metaphor for the coffee shop.
So in grand Burning Man fashion, no one had communicated with the pyro team that anyone would be serving out of it. And so we showed up and we were serving, and
everyone's smoking stogies.
Everyone's smoking, and the man that's behind the coffee counter is holding like a road flare. And then Dave X, who I only know what he looks like because I've been at the DPW morning meetings, came up and was like, "This is propellant." Which, by the way, one of our people tried to use the propellant to serve a thing. He's like, "This is propellant, and you can do this, but when we say go, we need you out of here immediately." And we're like, "Yes." So much so that it was like we all had a plan. It was Chukaki and Chi-Chi and I behind the bar. We're like, "All right, so as soon as this memorial procession starts, where there's a mourning of the coffee shop, what we do is throw everything into the cooler that is garbage, whatever, and then we hike the cooler back out to the truck. Like, as soon as it starts, we do that because we need to be out of Pyro's way, because the last thing we want to do is piss off Dave X.
No, the last thing you want to do is catch fire on plywood.
Yes.
Those two things are often the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were out of there in like 30 seconds, and then that cooler of rotting garbage sat outside of my container.
Oh, that's what that was.
And then I drained it as best as I could and just left it because I was sick. And I was like, "It's not my cooler. It's not my garbage. I'm so sorry." Oh, God.
I opened up one of the most terrible coolers in the entire world.
Ooh, there were some
year.
bad coolers.
Oh,
Did
man.
you open the one that was in the back of the resource?
Yes. What was it doing back there with the other stuff we were transporting?
Oh,
Like, not only that, but like when I saw how brackish and thick the fluid in it was, I put my face closer to it to try to identify what it was with my sense of smell. And oh boy, let me tell you.
So that cooler had sat in one of the containers for 3 years with
Heating and cooling and heating and cooling.
with some monsters
energy
in it.
drinks that exploded.
that exploded.
That exploded.
And no amount of washing and sitting in the sun was able to destroy whatever hideous formation 3 years of fermented monster had created.
Oh boy, it was vile. Like,
It was so
I could
gross.
smell it like all the way back in my sinuses near my ears.
It got left outside the back wall of the cafe with the lid open, exposed to the sun, hoping that the a monstrous playa environment would cleanse it somehow, it only became more evil.
Ooh, I did like a whole bunch of like drunken half circle stumbles while I was gagging. It wasn't great.
Oh, in the gross realm, we should talk about Mousepocalypse.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're going to talk about who won
Tails?
with rats.
So all of our stuff was eaten by mice
And rats.
and rats.
We do this thing, which is very smart, but also incredibly thorough, where everything we pack into the big tractor trailer containers where we store all of the stuff for center camp and our own personal center campy camp, off center camp. Everything that is important is interspersed with fibers, either natural or polyester, but in either case, very attractive for rodents to create nests with, which produce so much rodent shit. Oh. And like the weird, thick, like yellow, almost gelatiny, like leftover semi-solids from like where they pissed for however long they were pissing. Oh, it's so fucking gross.
It's
Everything's so gross.
We got an opportunity to check out our trailers and stuff before Burning Ban, but you can't see much in them. And yeah, there's a little bit of mouse shit, but sure. And then
They can't possibly have been living and reproducing and pissing and shitting in here for 3 whole years, can they?
So the portent of this is before we discovered, we did discover one mouse nest while we were rehabbing one of our assets at one point, but
You mean the rat's nests that were in the rice cookers?
no, I mean day 2 of me being on playa, I was peeing on a pee bucket behind the place that I was living. And in the morning, I got up and was still peeing in that pee bucket because the portos were quite a ways away. And what I found was a floating mouse, like one of those little kangaroo mouses that are out on the playa.
Always lid your pee bucket.
It was very sad, and I saw it, and I'm like, I have to deal with that later, and ignored it for half a day. And then I needed to figure out what to do with it. So I went to TSA, the trash sorting human beings that are by commissary, and I'm like, so what does one do with a bucket of pee and a mouse? And they're like, well, you have to deal with the bucket and the pee, but if you put the mouse in a baggie, we can deal with the mouse. And I was like, I'm going to steel myself and do this. And I walked with it's like a gallon bucket with a handle with a mouse floating in it from my
Like a
camp
beach pail.
across all of these other staff camps into where the staff eats.
But not like in where they eat, but in the general area outside of where they eat.
And there were 3 people I had never met before standing by a golf cart. And I just walked up to them and waited until they had a pause of their conversation. They all looked at me and I was like, hey, just so you know, what I'm going to go do is drain this mouse out of my urine and put it in this plastic bag. And one of the guys was like, who's your manager? You could probably just toss that out on playa. And I'm like, I'm my manager, and I've been told what I need to do. And I'm not asking for advice. I just need you to witness me. Just witness me, because I'm about to strain a dead mouse out of my urine and put it in a plastic bag and hand it to TSA. And I just need someone else to know that this is happening right now.
I need validation that I am a member of a community. I am doing this for us.
Exactly that.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I needed that in that moment. It felt really good.
So that was your one rodent, Beth?
That was the beginning of what was to become the rodent storm.
That was probably the
portent.
The only recently live rodent.
Probably.
I think all of the rest of the rodents were
freeze-dried.
Accumulated rodents.
Yeah.
Ew.
Boy, they keep their hair long after they've dried out, don't they?
Do you want to mention your vacuum cleaner story?
Didn't you have 2 others before I just knocked all your rats right out of the park?
Oh, yeah, no, I cleaned out a thing. As basically everyone who volunteered with us this year, everyone had to deal with this, but I cleaned out a thing that was full of rats' nests and I found their poor desiccated bodies, but
2 more, right?
I only found one. I had
One more.
two stiff tails.
You were 2 tails.
I was 2 tails before D-Day.
Just came running onto the scene with like 9 tails all at once. Yeah, so TLDR, the very idea of running a kitchen on Playa is just disgusting. Before you consider the fact that, like, maybe because natural fibers were stored in the kitchen, maybe not, but certainly contributing to the problem of all of the mice being in the kitchen was the fact that they had like ample stuff, like couches full of fiber to create nests with. And we also have these wooden benches stored in the kitchen as well. And as we're taking things out, we notice things that are contaminated with rat shit. And we stop and we get the vacuum and we vacuum the rat shit up. And we're all wearing masks, although not respirators, because none of us want to get hantavirus, although not so much so that we have actual respirators. And I'm vacuuming up this like piss and shit stained rat nest fluff from the bottom of this plywood wooden bench. And there's like a crack between the bottom of the bench and the side of the bench. And as I bring the hose of the vacuum toward that crack to vacuum up rat shit there, a little dead desiccated rat baby pops out of the crack and goes up the hose of the vacuum like a boba popping up a straw. Like, thoop, and then thoop, 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 thoop. And as the last of those little babies of that series pops up the hose, I see its fur wiggle, which makes me think for a second that it's alive.
Oh, no.
Which is when I blurt out, "Oh, my God." And someone beside me is just like, "Are you okay?" I was just like, yeah, oh, my God. For a second, I thought that little rat baby was still alive, and I was gonna have to go into the vacuum canister and get the rat babies out of the vacuum canister. But it's okay. They're dead. They're all dead.
They're all dead.
And there were like 3 more in the bench that had to be vacuumed out, and one of them wouldn't come out. So I did need the help of a friend with a little like bamboo skewer stick or something like that to help wiggle that little guy's bones loose so he could also go into the vacuum. That was the start of the disgusting things that constitute inheriting a kitchen to cook in at Burning Man. We won't go into the rest, but like I was delightfully aggrieved and exasperated for no fewer than like 5 to 17 days.
All of the days on Playa.
Easiest year ever.
And after D-Day this thing, I did this thing, then all of the people in our camp unloaded full fucking trailers of just nothing but mouse garbage, Mousepocalypse.
Oh, there was so much contaminated material.
It was
Just
so
unloading
gross.
things to throw them away later that day and take a shower so the next day you could also unload things that you were going to throw away and take another rat shit shower.
Yeah. So one of the moments for me is down at the shower spot. I was making sure all of our team got back, and I walked into the showers being like, "Rat shit team," and these people are like, yeah, and I'm like, "Center camp rat shit team," and they're like, "Oh no, we're good."
Yeah, yeah, we're different rat shit team.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Can we take a minute and talk about the art?
I mean, I think we have to talk about the art. We have to talk about our entire art walk. Okay, so I guess to put some context into this conversation in one way or another, a lot of the art this year was either samey or uninspired, and the sameness was really fit, trim people bodies of various sizes, but all very glossy and shiny and metallic, pretty much.
Yeah. Look at how many glossy couples there are.
There was the one with the 2 people staring at each other that were all covered in
shiny
discs. They were shiny discs. And then there was the one where they were side by side with big pieces missing. And that's the one I'm trying to find the name of, because that one I think there is a a viewing angle thing going on with it. It reminds me of Dali stuff in a particular way, and I think it might be a Dali style double image, but I could be wrong.
So I got into a fight on Reddit about that particular piece of art. And then that's where I found out about Divers Up. My friends, so I want to preface this by saying that all art is valid. What art is the interaction between the viewer and the creation. It is not the intent of the artist. It is not the specificness of the artist statement or whatever. But with that said,
the artist should have an intent.
And with 7 years of fucking art school and now teaching art school, I would like to say I have somewhat of a valid critique of Divers Up. Which I don't know if you were out there, but it was a giant set of headless tits, bronze, headless tits.
Bronze colored, they were fiberglass.
You're right, they're fiberglass. Giant set of tits with a diver's helmet on the ground next to it with a blue LED inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
This was a funny piece of art to walk up to in the dead of night that was not very well lit. It's a very funny piece of art. And it could have been, honestly, if it had just been called Tits Up, I'd be like, at least that's a valid expression of the thing. But later, when we came back, I managed to find the artist's statement about this piece, Divers Up, and it is about freeing the goddess. You know, like a headless pair of tits always does.
But also freeing the goddess from the mechanical constraints of society. But if that is your metaphor, a diver's helmet is not a constraint. It is something that allows you to survive in a hostile environment.
So it's that's fair. Yes, good critique.
I have also stood in front of other artists while they've ripped apart my work.
So this human who is a victor, by the way, I won't. Is that a picture of it?
It certainly is.
Yeah, look at it. Oh, it does have arms. It totally looks like it has arms.
Yeah, it's got arms. I do think that the helmet is actually in proportion.
It really felt like that helmet was made out of fucking cardboard compared to the rest of it.
Well, the whole thing is made of fiberglass.
Yeah. So apparently the artist was saying that this is a intentional choice and this is the only time we're going to see it. But I would like to say what it is a photograph that the artist Victor took of a very attractive, young, perky-titted human being with a giant old school diver's helmet on it. And it is perfectly valid black and white photo. And then they blow it up to this size. They bring it out to Burning Man. They say it's about the feminine energy, and it's literally a headless set of fucking tits.
What has more agency than a woman with no head or face, Beth?
So, like, if it is about freeing the goddess, why is there no fucking head under the helmet? If freeing the goddess is taking that helmet off somehow, why is there no goddamn face?
Beth, you have to escape from your needing a head for your thoughts to live in paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
Heads are a trap. They keep your brains inside.
So the point is, if you are a fabricator who has this great idea for Burning Man and like the funding to make a big art project at Burning Man, maybe invest in an art director.
I would like to say that we saw some really good art out there this year. I like to bitch about art. This is fun for me. It's enjoyable, but it's really depressing, particularly with the artist statements, because it's always this like very skinny, very hot woman who is supposed to be like validating women and gender and like supporting, I don't know, sexual assault like Bliss was. So I struggle with the very particular aspect that is large women, specifically large women without heads is a very difficult.
Beth.
Yeah.
Stop kink shaming.
I enjoyed a shit ton of the art out there this year. Like I'm a little bit art skeptical in the first place about Burning Man. I don't trust its artists as much as I should, considering how cool a bunch of their art is. I think it's this sort of like realm where you can walk from something that is absolutely profound, deeply, movingly, spiritually profound, to something that is sexist garbage. Like really sexist garbage, to something that is actual garbage that is just a pile of garbage to something like
Sometimes it's a pile of garbage.
right. So I think maybe what I'm encountering here is my like, oh, it's not a curated experience, which is why I like it. We wander through the desert and we find the railroad station, which is fucking gorgeous. We find Late to the Party, which made me laugh so much I was slightly worried I had pissed myself a little bit. We find even that awful deflated bounce house that didn't work.
Oh, half-ass bounce house.
Or Alien Cats.
Oh, yeah. The Space Cats landing was fantastic.
Space Cats was so adorable.
With the doomiest slide ever.
The doomiest slide and the little mice that were like Sergeant
Named
Snack.
after food. Yep.
Yeah.
I want to point out that I almost precisely named that tarot art project. The name of it is Circle of Doors Tarot.
Circle of Doors.
Circle of Doors Tarot. Get it? Right.
I really think the artists shouldn't have the right to name their own work when they bring their work to Playa. That's my new rule.
Colors of Nostalgia was pretty fun.
Yes, Colors of Nostalgia was great.
That was the stained glass gallery.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, what was that
That
one?
was incredible. That was another time when I wept.
Oh, did you?
Oh,
I felt so moved by it too.
It was
Let's describe it for those of us that didn't find it on Playa this year.
it was an outdoor grid of pieces of stained glass on pillars, and the stained glass was representations of
Some of the most iconic, that's it.
art from Burning Man and moments from Burning Man. Like there was a really cool one for Crude Awakening.
Oh, yeah.
But like anything that really stuck with you, there was a beautiful stained glass representation.
Like if you had been going for over 5 years and you walked around it, you would like your heart would just light up. And they were these great representations. They were not super photographic. They were like you had to take a second and look at it, and then you're like, oh, that's that thing, that's that moment. Look at how they're representing it.
Mm-hmm.
It was very beautiful. I liked that one a lot.
So the name of the stained glass gallery, I'm absolutely in love with this. The Midnight Museum of That One Time at Burning Man.
Oh,
Yeah, that's good.
that's beautiful.
Jerry Snyder, Reno, Nevada.
But that's not the thing you were talking about.
Oh, Colors of Nostalgia.
Yeah, what's Colors of Nostalgia?
Oh, that one was great.
It was this little a structure with 4 little rooms in it, each of which was like
A color and a time period.
yeah. So there was a 50s room, a 60s room, a 70s room, and an 80s room, and they weren't just a color; they were also a smell.
And there's an audio track, and
Just the trappings of the decades strewed about. It was great.
it was very charming. I did like that one. And the elephants. The elephants we came up on in a dust storm, and like they were exactly the way that I feel like you should approach a Dali painting.
Yes.
Like it just appears in front of you and takes a minute to resolve. It was like that weird, gorgeous magic that is the awfulness of the dust storms out there. Like, oh, on Burn Night, we also ended up at like a goddamn fire skate park. That was fucking adorable.
Oh yeah, that was.
They were
cool.
giving out bacon and pickles, and there was like a skateboard skate ramp and like some bars that go on fire.
Nice.
Yeah.
So,
there was,
like,
there was a grind rail that was burning.
That with fire, and we got to sit and have pickles. I didn't have any bacon, and watch people like jump on that railing and have the fire go behind them.
That sounds pretty awesome.
It was super adorable.
Did you guys see selfie art out there? Mm-mm. So as you walk up on this, obviously the most Instagrammy selfie art that you can find, like Angel's halo and Angel's wings with a backdrop, and then like 10 feet away, Devil's wings with devil's horns on a backdrop. But as you're coming up on this thing, there is a sign and an artist statement. And the sign says that this art piece is selfie art. And then it goes on to explain what selfie art is. And I don't think in an ironic way.
Irony is becoming well nigh impossible to detect.
I loved Wrong Way.
Wrong way. So let's take a moment and describe wrong way to our
A
friends.
pull behind automotive trailer that you have taken the wheels and the rims off of and replaced those like wheels that should be made of vulcanized rubber and inflated with like 35 some odd psi of air. Just replace those with like bare metal casters. And now drag this trailer out into deep playa so everyone walking up on your art piece can see the gouge marks in the playa that you have left with your wheels. Now, put a ratty old couch on top of that trailer and an e-bike and a backpack and ratchet strap all that shit down.
With a sign.
With signs on either side of the couch, cut to match the shape of the couch, 2 wrong way road signs. And then just leave that shit there.
Yeah.
And that's art. That
is art.
is fucking art.
I loved that. And by love, I mean was made extremely sad and full of tears by the Paradise Phoenix.
The Phoenix.
Oh, that was uncomfortable.
It was the first piece of art I encountered this year, and I immediately was choking up when I walked up to it.
Yeah, me too.
And-
as soon
and
as
I
I
didn't
imaged
know-
it, I'm like, oh, I know what that is.
I didn't know what it was yet. We came up to this thing, and I started crying just approaching it. And I looked at it, and there was no placard or anything, and I kind of just knew. And then I heard later at the black hole that there was a phoenix that was the remnants found after the Paradise Fire.
Yeah, there was a little plaque up there when I went and saw it. But there was also some douchebag with a camera who was pedantically espousing how his job as a photography artist is to find a perspective on this piece that nobody has seen before. And that's what I do with this lens. I create something from whatever's already there. And it's just like, motherfucker, this is the remnants of an entire town that died. Shut the fuck up about your art.
It was such a beautiful piece. I was blown away by it, and underneath its claws were a bunch of the glass puddles, the things of melted glass, and they were just so beautiful and so painful to look at.
Yeah.
Good art is good.
Yeah, there was so much good art,
There really was.
Which is why the bad art is fine to point out.
There was a lot more bad art than good art, but that's also how it should be.
Headless tits, wrong way.
Late to the party, which we have not yet described.
Oh, Late to the Party's great
All
art.
the way out at 11 o'clock and Trash Fence.
I hope that is the name of it and we're not picking the wrong thing, but I suspect we're correct. Alerta! Alerta! Your hosts are dumb shits.
Beth, say it's not called Late to the Party.
Oh, yeah, obviously, even though that would be a great title for it.
It would. Maybe the piece called Late to the Party should just give up its name to this other piece that may or may not actually be art.
Okay, now back to talking about this art. I will describe this for everyone. So, the way that you would make a yurt out of those big styrofoam insulation panels, imagine a 20-foot by 20-foot room in the darkness at the trash fence.
No lights.
No lights. We walk around it, and in between the back of this styrofoam structure and the trash fence are just 2 gas cans. Don't know if they're full or not. But at that point, we were like, okay, this has got to be in some way art. And I find at one corner of it, there is something that might resemble a door.
There was a gap at one corner.
There was a gap. It seemed like there was a hinge, but it's also just duct taped styrofoam panels together.
The thing that convinced me that it was art was that there was an array of different hubcaps and wheels leaned up against it.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, the piles of trash that accompanied the structure on the outside were just a little too
Placed.
Yeah, placed and lived in. It was definitely trying to look like that structure had been there for months.
From the outside, this is how I remember it, is we were like, oh, we can't go in here. It's fine. Maybe this isn't for us. Maybe it's a thing that's hiding a generator. And then D-Day looks in a little cutout corner where a piece of piping is going in. And he's like, there's stuff in there.
Yeah, no, this is art.
This is art. So we all went around and found the place that was the door, and we're like, all right, we're going in.
And when you go in, immediately on your left is like 2 overstuffed bags of garbage, a toppled papasan, and like the wood framing of the studs in the walls for this this weird styrofoam insulation structure. There's just like crap left there.
There's a disco ball, but then the studs kill me. It's like, it looks like the inside of an uninsulated basement.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah, like the detritus of somebody's life was on each of the cross members of the studs.
Yeah, like 10-pound can of rusty nails.
Oh,
the
yeah,
the
the
still bagged instructions for an air conditioner, which was absolutely not in or around that structure at all.
The disco ball was accompanied by like paper mache planets.
Yeah, the disco ball was the sun, I believe, and the planets were the rest of the solar system. But it looked like a trap house, and it was hilarious, and we loved it.
Completely unlit, total black art.
oh, yeah.
Oh, brilliant!
That was like, I remember walking out of that with our group of like 7, 8 people and like laughing so hard. Late to the party.
But it's not called Late to the Party. We don't know what it's called.
We couldn't figure it out with a map and the internet.
But we did find out what Late to the Party was, and it's not that. It could be called something called What's the Point? It could be called something else. We don't know.
Boy, let me tell you, if you put Burning Man 2022, what's the point in Google? What you're not going to find is a bunch of pictures of art.
Although, what's the point would also be a solid name for that piece.
What's the point of titles anyway?
Yeah, exactly.
What's even the point?
That was lovely.
It was an extraordinary delight. Loved that. How about Belt Guy?
Oh, we didn't even mention Belt Guy.
We have just mentioned Belt Guy.
Belt Guy was fucking cool.
Yeah, my apologies to Belt Guy. I took one of your belts and didn't let you size it for me, but I have since sized it for myself at home and just filled it with like 30 plus grommets.
Of course you did.
Yep.
So doing a deep playa art walk with D-Day is D-Day looks for the thing that is most likely a blinky that got dropped on the ground.
I want to find dark crap.
Sometimes that leads us to the coolest things in the world, like Belt Guy, where it's just a couple of lights over there.
Actually, I want to change this narrative a little bit because Belt Guy was discovered in resistance to D-Day's peel-off attempt. We had set a hard target, but we were not having it. It was way off target. We dragged his ass back, and as we were almost to our target, there was a little hut off to our right. And we were like,
and there were literally people who were like, go there.
Uh-huh. We said, see, this is the kind of thing you deflect to, because it was obviously a thing. It was only a few paces off of our route, and people were having a good time there. So we went there, and what did we discover? But a guy with incredible custom leather belts, just giving them away and sizing them to you right there as you waited.
Being so grateful that everyone was so grateful for his beautiful belts.
And like, you don't understand how custom these customs are.
Just gorgeous works of art belts.
Oh my God, they were so beautiful.
It's the most beautiful belt I've ever owned, and I'm disappointed for every one of them I didn't pick.
Right.
They were all beautiful.
They were all so gorgeous. And like, when we walked up, he was chatting with people, and he was like, well, you walked your way all the way out here, of course.
Yeah, you might as well have
Yeah.
the most gorgeous belt you've ever seen.
Because we were the way the fuck out trash fence way.
I adored it.
And then immediately after that, we found the one circle fire pit that always exists out near
But
the
the
trash
human
fence.
who wasn't there.
Wasn't there this time.
We
Wasn't
did
as
not
nostalgic
see
as
our
usual.
forever fire tender. It was still an incredible time.
Oh, yeah.
Cute. It
Yeah.
was fun.
Shout out to the dude who was out there who called me out and said, hey, you sound like that guy from that podcast. And I was like, no, I'm not that guy. And he was like, you sound like that guy. And I said, oh, yeah, I do, but I'm not that guy. And then without thinking, I immediately like turned and started talking to Beth and called her by name. So at that point, he probably realized that I was the D-Day he was thinking of. But that dude ended up like talking to me a couple minutes after, like I wasn't some dude that he already knew. So if I pulled one over on you, good for me. And if I didn't, and I expect I didn't, really fucking cool of you, dude.
Shout out to all the listeners who play it cool when we meet them. And shout out to all the listeners that cry on our shoulders when we see them at the Listener Appreciation Party.
Thank you for coming to the Listener Appreciation Party.
Because we get it.
Holy
It's a
shit,
lot.
did you come to the Listener Appreciation Party? You're probably much cooler than us. Please forgive us for not remembering any of the details about you. Also, if you bring gifts, bring one for me.
Aw.
Oh, did you not get as many gifts as we got?
No.
Oh, that sucks. You can have
Yeah.
some of my gifts.
But you got a gift from Valkyrie. That's what counts.
It is wonderful to see Valkyrie year
Yeah,
after year. Valkyrie,
absolutely.
who can now be our friend. If you go to the Listener Appreciation Party year after year after year and are cool as fuck and never weird us out like Valkyrie, you can be one of our
And
friends.
Beth,
But just
Beth,
for realsies, if you bring patches, bring 3.
Yeah.
It hurts my feelings.
Beth, did you get a duck?
Well, that's from you. That doesn't count.
That's not from me. That's through me.
I didn't get a duck. What's a
No,
duck?
you did not get a duck.
Well, then from
Well,
who?
then why don't I have shit? Now I feel like Beth.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. She's from Media Mecca. I think her name is Brooke.
Oh, well, I did get an incredible Media Mecca eye patch from a Media Mecca volunteer.
You got an eye patch?
Yeah.
That's
Well, it's a patch in the shape of an eye.
oh,
But it would be great if I got an eye patch. Media Mecca, if you're listening, I'd like it to be an eye patch with an embroidered eye on the eye patch part.
that is what our Accuracy Third swag should be next year. Just like no comment, just everyone gets an eye patch.
I want to say for the human beings that I talked to at this party, knock it off and come on the show and let us interview you, where we outnumber you. That's what I want. I just
that
want,
would be fair.
like, come hang out with us. It's the same deal, except there's a lot more of our attention, and then we outnumber you, and I feel much safer. Everyone I chatted with was really lovely. I invited all of them to come interview with us because it is way too much when you outnumber us.
Samesies, and I will confidently say that a whole bunch of you said yes.
Yeah.
And I will remind you right now that you owe us a podcast.
Yeah, you said yes.
Yeah, we kept our party running like an hour and a half longer than we had said initially. So you
Accuracy
owe us
Third
90 minutes.
At gmail.com, all spelled out.
I started trying to give someone like my business card at the party and was just like, oh yeah, we'll get in touch. And it was like, I know how to get in touch with you. You say the goddamn email address like every fucking episode. And I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's how podcasts work. You do it.
You probably pay more attention to my podcast than I do to my podcast.
You give out your contact info. You tell people to follow you on social media. We're on Twitter. I'm on Twitter. Beth's on Instagram.
Accuracy Third is produced by Accuracy Third, Beth and Rex and D-Day. I'm D-Day. We all really appreciate all of you listeners so very, very much. We're glad to have been able to keep you company for the past 3 years before this last burn, and we are looking forward to being in your ear holes for the next year until we can meet you again at Burning Man.
Come bring us your stories, share them with us, share them with the community, be part of our oral history, and come back and listen to us around New Year's when season 6 gets going for realsies.
The music in this episode was probably by me, so there. We should talk about our last story about 2022 Burning Man. Rex and I, for one reason or another, need to be driving my pickup truck to center camp like 12 hours after the gates have opened.
Have the gates even opened? I thought that was like Sunday before gate.
I don't know. There were people on the road at that point, people biking on the road. That makes it much more dangerous and distracting to be driving a truck around Burning Man.
Oh, God, it's the worst to drive at Burning Man during the event week. It's a horror show. No one should want to do that.
So I'm at an intersection, either 6 or 6:30, and I need to turn right to go towards center camp. And a truck pulls up at the crossway of the intersection, and I think, fuck it, he just slowed down. I'm going in. And I make my right turn, and I continue going like 5 miles an hour in front of this person. And this person like darts their car to the other side of the intersection, like gesticulating wildly out his driver's side window.
Bringing the real road rage. Or so it seemed.
I'm just driving forward at my 5 miles an hour. I'm not dealing with this. And he stops the truck and gets out of the truck and starts shouting at us and chasing us, gesticulating wildly. And I stop looking in the rearview mirror and I point my eyes forward and I just drive straight and I make sure I don't hit any bicycles. And I glance back into the rearview mirror and goddamn if it isn't Trailer Joe sprinting up to say hello to his pals from Accuracy Third.
And we said, hey, we're going over there to Center Camp, a block from here. Come with us. Come join us. We'll hang out. And then we never saw him again.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's pretty Burning Man.
Uh-huh.